Because the last time I checked, India was a secular democracy where there is a firm separation between affairs of the state and religion. Of course, some of these lines have been crossed in the past, and there are instances, and there are rather unfortunate instances, where the state exercises control over religion. For example, viewers, a large number of Hindu temples are controlled by the state. This is a complete violation of the principles on which the Indian Constitution rests. There have also been in the past, viewers, religious tours sponsored by the state. All of that is justified in some way or the other. I don't agree with it, but it is. So viewers, one wasn't very surprised when this separation of state and religion was defiled once again, viewers, violated once again, blurred once again. This time via an order that was passed by the state in Jharkhand rather. There the speaker has allotted room number TW348 for offering Namaz. Where? In the Vidhan Sabha, or the State Assembly, viewers. Now, this move is, at least to my knowledge, unprecedented, because I don't know of any other instance where a temple or even a gurdwara was set up inside a state assembly, even a church. So, this particular state, run by the JMM, represented by their Chief Minister, Mr. Soren, Mr. Hemant Soren, you can see him, as well as the Congress, found it not at all a violation of the secular principle for moving forward and instituting this namaz room. There's been a huge public outrow over the last 24 hours. In fact, just today, viewers, the State Assembly witnessed massive protests with BJP leaders saying that this is a complete desecration of the separation of powers, as well as those very clearly demarcated lines which separate, again, religion from the state. Now, viewers, in the past, when states have tried to bring in religious quotas, the courts have taken profound exception and struck them down. So one would have thought that something like this would not have been legitimized. But surprisingly, Hemant Soren, the Chief Minister of Jharkhand, has come out and said there's nothing wrong with this. In fact, he wants to go ahead, and he says that I'm not even going to entertain demands by the BJP to make a Hanuman mandir, for example, in the State Assembly, because that would be a violation also of the principle. The blind disregard for one point of view over the other is quite shocking, viewers. It's stunning and startling, because it just tells you how committed today certain political parties are to the politics of appeasement. And they will not even stop at being brazenly hypocritical in justifying their tilt. Now, just listen to Hemant Soren. He's not by any means the brightest individual around, but certainly something this apparent, at least he could have tried to be obfuscatory. But even that level of politic eluded this man. Listen to him. He's a Chief Minister of a state.
सॉर्ट आउट कैसे करेंगे? मतलब ये जो है क्या चिट्ठी वापस
ही नहीं है तो सॉर्ट आउट होने का क्या मतलब है? हमको बात समझ में
नहीं। जैसे बोल रहे ना, प्रार्थना स्थल कर दीजिए, नमाज स्थल नहीं करेगा, ऐसे बोल रहा है। अब समाधान दिया,
अगले का इससे समाधान थोड़ी होने वाला। इससे भी इनका समाधान नहीं होगा।
वैसे क्या इसके लिए तैयार है? क्योंकि कुछ मंत्रियों ने भी ये सजेशन दिया है।
तो सब जगह है, लेकिन मन में अगर राक्षस हो तो सब जगह दुश्मनी दुश्मनी.
There you go. Very bizarre, viewers. Extremely bizarre. I couldn't understand what this gentleman was trying to say. Happens to be the Chief Minister of a state, justifying appeasement, justifying the order that will lead to the setup of a Namaz room favoring one particular community over the other. Quite brazen, this appeasement. Let's open this up. I don't want to stand between us and the panelists on this show. Dr. Anand Ranganathan joins us on this debate also. Dr. Ranganathan, what do you make of this very astounding set of circumstances?
No, indeed. Good evening, Rahul. You know, one cannot escape the delicious irony. In a secular country with a secular constitution, a state ruled by a secular party is making a religious room in a secular legislative assembly. I will never tire of repeating this, Rahul, that our constitution is plural, not secular. Because secularism is total separation of religion and state, total. There are half a dozen articles and amendments and directive principles in our constitution that make it plural, not secular. In fact, as you know, the word secular was inserted in our preamble by Indira Gandhi during the emergency. It was absent from Ambedkar constitution. What has happened in Jharkhand is a small example, Rahul, of how unsecular, I don't want to use the word communal obviously, but how unsecular or pseudo-secular our country is. But here's the tragedy. Those who condemn this are also shamelessly partaking in it. Our state declares itself to be secular, but is shamelessly not so controlling as it does only Hindu places of worship. Yeah. You mentioned a little. A petition to free Hindu temples, Rahul, is pending in the Supreme Court since 2012, almost 10 years. They can allow midnight hearings for terror accused, but not here. Governments of just 10 states control more than 90,000 temples. Tamil Nadu Temple Trusts own 478,000 acres of land. Tamil Nadu government alone controls 36,425 temples in 56 months. Billions in revenue. Is this secularism? If you truly believe that religion should keep out of state, the corollary is also applicable, that the state should keep out of religion, but does it? A Hindu temple, its income, its educational institutions are controlled by and interfered in by the government. But those of a mosque, a church or a gurdwara are not. Why? Only in India can you step aside and watch as the state appoints non-Hindus on boards that control Hindu temples. Only here will we remain silent as temple idols are stolen, temple property auctioned, a whole temple-driven ecosystem and a way of life dismantled. Assault on temples has turned into an assault on Hinduism itself. Imagine a Hindu priest or a politician controlling and dictating how St. Francis Church or a Jama Masjid should be run. If that happens, perhaps our judiciary would indeed conduct a midnight hearing, crying death of secularism. Rahul, just 30 seconds. And as for honor among thieves, if the Congress can bring in a legislation to control Hindu temples in 1959, one that still stands. Why can't the BJP bring in a legislation to override it? I'll tell you why. It is because they are happily looting the temples as well. Muh mein Ram, bagal mein chhuri. BJP, far from relinquishing state control of temples, has now taken control of even more Hindu temples in Uttarakhand. The more things change, Rahul, the more they remain the same. I'd much rather the BJP allow the Namaz room, but relinquish control of Hindu temples. But do they have the guts?
Well, at the very outset, viewers, I began by saying that there is state-sponsored religious bias in this country. Let's just change those words a little bit. Yes, the Uttarakhand government decided then to go ahead, acquire temples. There was a huge uproar. Then they scrapped that order. A CM also went out of the door. So, viewers, there is a big problem here. And when the Chief Minister of a state comes out and legitimizes this state-sponsored religious bias, it is frightful. It is frightful, viewers, because imagine the signal you are sending out, the resentments that you are birthing. Think about that. You have a responsibility as a Chief Minister to build bridges, to build an inclusive society. Now, you know, it's very funny, viewers, because over the last few days, the Taliban that is running riot across Afghanistan is being compared to the RSS. There's a whole group of people who are investing in this narrative that the Taliban, you know, is a mirror image of the RSS. It's the RSS itself is a Hindu Taliban, etc. Now, I don't know what they would call someone like Hemant Soren and his Congress sponsors. Because viewers, this is the action of not a secular state but a caliphate, where you give primacy in an elected house to one particular religion at the cost of the other. So I want to bring in at this moment Dr. Sambit Patra of the Bharatiya Janata Party, the national spokesperson. Dr. Patra, of course, there are different views on this. We know that these lines are constantly blurred. I think Dr. Ranganathan quite made it clear how the state today imprisons, quite literally, you know, for lack of a better word, the temples of this country. Now here in, Jharkhand, you have a chief minister who's probably taking a, leaf out of the book and saying, let's imprison one particular community's faith, keep it outside the door, but let's welcome the other and give it a sanctified room so that there's observance of that particular faith, and that too in the Vidhan Sabha of the House. Now, can you explain how we are supposed to counter this? Is there any way, or we just move court, or we abide?
See, first and foremost, Rahul, Anand was absolutely right when he mentioned that as far as the constitution, the preamble of India is concerned, in Baba Saheb's preamble, there was no mention of the word secularism, because secularism, sabka saath, sabka vishwas, sabka vikas, vasudhaiva kutumbakam, is a principle which is inherent in the Indian way of life. One of the first masjids in the world, in fact in Kerala, was by a Hindu king. So to say that we are not secular is absolutely, I would say, blasphemous. Secondly, the word secularism had a skewed definition for all these 70 years and has been used very conveniently for political reasons. There has been a kind of marathon, a World Cup of sorts, as to how to use this word secularism for appeasement, how to use this word secularism for one's own benefit. And if I'm allowed a phrase in Hindi, secularism is defined, I would say, as Musalmano ke liye tali and Hinduon ke liye gali. If you spoke for the Muslims and against the Hindus, that is what was the definition of secularism for all these years. I mean, look at the irony. One can demand and have a Namaz room in the assembly hall. This is just the beginning. This is opening the Pandora's box. I'm sure with the beginning in the Jharkhand, most of the Congress-ruled state, most of the non-BJP-ruled states will have this kind of arrangements in most of the assembly, and I would not be astonished if tomorrow they make a similar kind of demand in the Parliament House also, and have a debate on the floor of Parliament that we want a Namaz house or kind of a room in the Parliament of India, in the new Central Vista. They might demand, a Namaz house. This has been normalized over the years, which pains me. Look, no one is debating. I'm thankful that at least Times Now is debating this. But no one is debating this. No one thinks that this is something out of the blue. We all consider this is so normal. And if someone like me, or say an RSS proponent, Ratan Sarda, one who knows about RSS, or a staunch Hindu follower, we demand a Hanuman room for prayers or Aarti, we would be looked down upon as if, look, these are the people who are so down. I mean, they're not even educated. They live in some stone age. They're demanding a Hanumanji ka room. I mean, this is what has become by the skewed definition of secularism all these years. And lo and behold,
yeah, one second, let me open this up because I don't have much time.
Hemant Soren had to say.
Yeah, let me open this up.
Just a second. Hemant Soren's comment has really touched the raw nerve on me. He says that Rakshas, he calls the Hindus Rakshas. Man mein Bhagwan hai to man mein puja kar lo. Why? Allah also resides in man. So all those who want to in fact pay obedience to Allah can do so by just observing him in the mind. For them you can have a mundane space, you can have a space in the external world. But for the Hindus to say that man mein Bhagwan hai to,
as I said,
why should you need a room?
State-sponsored religious bias.
Why this kind of double standard?
It's state-sponsored religious bias, and it's dangerous and it's not acceptable. So I want to bring in, yes, Abhishek Sudhir and Abdul Razak Khan are raising their hands insistently. Ratan Sharda is also there. Very quickly, I don't have much time on this debate. I need to go on to the other big story of the day. But Abhishek Sudhir, yes, why are you going to endorse this state-sponsored religious bias? Why don't you just say today that Hemant Soren and the Congress party, the JMM and the Congress party are absolutely wrong? They are being devilishly one-sided here, and they are playing to a very, very careful political plot. Are you going to say all these things? You're an advocate, sir. You uphold
you have
the
a
law.
problem if one room... No, I am an advocate, I'm a constitutional lawyer. Let me tell you that the secularism we practice in India is very different from the secularism we practice in France. Laicite, they call it. The secularism in France is very extreme. We don't follow that extreme form of secularism in this country. The Prime Minister attended the Bhumi Pujan of the Ram Mandir in Ayodhya. Isn't that a violation of the principle of secularism? Isn't that a violation of the principle of secularism? That's the question I have. Now, you have one room. You had a room in the old assembly building above the library that was given for namaz. Now you have a new assembly building. There's one room for a namaz. Sure, the Hanuman Chalisa can be recited in that room. As Hemant Soren himself has said, we can call it a Prarthna Sthal. We can call it a multi-faith prayer room.
So
the parliament in the United Kingdom has a multi-faith prayer room. Why you know, Sambit Patra says, right, Sambit Patra and his party are ideologically bankrupt now. They have mismanaged COVID. They have mismanaged Uttar Pradesh. They know they're going to lose in Uttar Pradesh. On the one hand, you have Mohan Bhagwat in Pune who says Muslim outreach. On the other hand, you have the BJP spokesperson who says, oh my God, there is a Muslim takeover of India. Oh my God, क्या होगा? Hinduism खतरे में है. भैया, outreach कर रहे हो, तो एक room दे दो ना. Outreach करना चाहते हो ना आप. Give a room, one room. What does one room?
Okay.
Why do they need a room?
Let's open this up.
The timings of the prayers
delicious irony.
Go back to their homes to pray every time. So you've given them one room.
Okay, one room. No problem. Large-hearted country, we can give them one room. It's okay. Okay, Abhishek Sudhir.
It's bad for your health.
Okay, calm down, Abhishek Sudhir, calm down. You know, you're a man of the law. I don't know which law book you've been reading. It's a bit astounding. I mean, I'm quite stunned today.
It's called
because I don't know where we will draw the line. You see, if you go by
the Bhagavad Gita is a book I also follow.
Okay, one second.
The Constitution is the book that has to
Abhishek Sudhir, now 1 second, sir. 1 second. Now, if you extend this, yeah, okay, Dr. Ranganathan and Ratan Sharda also there. Yes, Dr. Ranganathan, make your quick point. I want to bring in Ratan Sharda for a quick counter. Yes.
Yes, very quickly to my good friend Mr. Abhishek Sudhir. Mr. Abhishek Sudhir, you must know that there is only one Abhishek Sudhir. So there is only one definition of secularism. What you say is pluralism. And I accept that. And I said that myself. Now, you know, I cannot escape but point a question to my good friend Dr. Sambit Patra. Rahul, with your permission, it won't take more than 10 seconds. Can I please do that?
Yeah.
It's a yes and no.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you so much. You know, Dr. Patra here, my good friend, was waxing eloquent about, this secularism. So I want to ask a straight question. Dr. Patra, here is a straight question for you. Last year, the Tamil Nadu government told the Madras High Court that it does not have money for 11,000 Hindu temples from which it seeps money. It doesn't have money to even perform a single puja every day. Whereas mosques, churches and gurdwaras, all the donations they get, they can perform their own religious services, but Hindu temples can't.
Now, you know, Dr. Ranganathan, we are speaking the same language.
So
that's a larger debate.
To answer this.
Once again, it's a larger debate. And, you know, I didn't want to go down that rabbit hole, but very quickly, Dr. Patra, quick response. I think you know the question from Dr. Ranganathan. A quick one. I want to open this up to Ratan Sharda because I think we're missing the wood for the trees here.
Seconds.
Yes, very quickly. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I agree. Very quickly to my good friend Anand Ranganathan, whom I dearly respect. Anand, I mean, there were questions from all quarters. Mandir kab banega? Tarikh kya hoga? We were the ones, Anand, who finally are into building the temple, a grand temple. Please have faith. As far as real secularism is concerned, it is the Bharatiya Janata Party. This is all I have to say. Have faith. You all questioned us. 370 kab hatega? We did it.
Okay, fair enough. We'll come to that. We'll come to that. I just want to say, viewers, it's absurd. Abhishek Sudhir says that, look, you know, when Narendra Modi, the Prime Minister, goes and he does Bhumi Pujan, you know, the Congress party, the whole brigade of so-called secular parties erupt, saying this is a complete blurring of the lines as enunciated by, you know, Dr. Ranganathan, etc. right now. Now, when that line is being crossed in Jharkhand, you have the same Abhishek Sudhir says, "Arey, have a large heart. De do ek do kamre de do, kya problem hai?" Acha, this is slightly bizarre. Ratan Sharda, how do you respond to? I mean, I don't know how to.
Both. Either you condemn both.
Let's have
to condemm both or you accept both.
Let's just turn Parliament into a temple. What's the big deal? What is the big deal? Turn the Vidhan Sabha into a Hanuman temple.
Is a temple of democracy.
And वहाँ पर एक
भारतीय जनता पार्टी is hell bent on destroying that temple.
एक मिनट अभिषेक सुधीर जी 2 apps खोल लेते हैं. एक apps में नमाज पढ़ सकते हैं इस ग्रैंड टेम्पल में और दूसरे apps में we can also have a church service. No problems. Just turn. Why? Let's just declare ourselves a religious state. Why not? Multi-religious state. Let's call it a multi-religious state. We should be the world's first multi-religious state, sir.
India to be a Hindu Rashtra.
Look at where the Congress. So in Congress rule states, you want to turn the state assembly into a mini mosque. Okay, fair enough. If that's your response to the BJP, then sir, you're only pushing.
One room turns
No,
it
one
into
second.
a mini mosque.
I'm only saying it's a beginning. You see, it's the beginning. What's stopping the community to say no? Let's have 25 rooms. Let's also invite other people from outside. Let's in fact have a.
I mean, Rahul, are we having a serious
set up there? No, come on. I'm serious, sir. Are you serious about where you want to take this country? Are you serious? Are you making light of a constitutional, a very important, one second. Two wrongs don't make a right. Whatever your argument is, it doesn't make a right. It doesn't make a right. Certainly an individual like you should know this.
So are you willing to condemn the Prime Minister today on your show? Are you ready to say that him attending the Bhumi Pujan was a violation of his secular oath?
Okay, let me bring in Ratan Sharda on that point. He's there. You can listen to him. Ratan Sharda, respond.
Wow.
First of all, just to add fire to Ranganathan's fuel, Tamil Nadu had clearly said they will sell 2,000 kg of jewelry to finance welfare schemes. So Hindu wealth can be used for government wealth schemes. They can use for madrasas. They can be used for churches. They can be used for education. They can be used for irrigation. But no other religious institution or money can be used. Point one. Point two. Why Hindu should always carry the cross of secularism? The reason why secularism was not part of constitution, because everybody, the founding fathers believe that we are by nature secular in two sense, that we respect all religions. That is why it was not added. It was added. Now should we carry the cross all the while and nobody else is responsible for that? 3. Now the main point. The Muslim appeasement, which was reduced to upliftment of only religious issues. Right from 47, Congress culture was to appease Muslims by giving them small crumbs of religious freedom, religious rights, religious reservations, everything religious, including changing the constitution. That is not secularism. Secularism, what BJP did by giving better schemes for minorities, spending more than on welfare. So rather spending welfare and taking minorities out of the hellhole of ignorance and out of the no knowledge, no skills, so this level is considered communal. For people to give this kind of crumbs of some kind of mosque room de diya ji, kahin aapko chutti de di. Do you know the statutory holidays are 12 holidays?
Sir, majorities have not benefited.
There are 3 Muslim holidays. There are 3 Muslim holidays, 2 Christian holidays, and only 3 Hindu holidays. We are supposed to be 80%, but we get in the name of secularism only 3 holidays, and Muslims have only 3. They got all. Christians get all. Is this secularism? So this reason of putting everything, if you do puja brafale, you are laughed at. If you do coconut breaking ceremony, laughed at. Supposed to have champagne to crack open a ship. So this is the kind of weird thinking that we have reduced to. We have reduced secularism to caricature, to a joke. Now to say, aap ek aur room do, ye room do, this is a utter level of very low level argument. You are opening up a floodgate. Tomorrow they will say, 5 बार हम काम छोड़ के नमाज पढ़ने जाना चाहते हैं. Already many officers have this problem.
So let me ask a question. You see, let me ask a question.
You know,
if we are not really...
More Hindus are taken because Muslims go out for namaz every time and the local sheikhs believe that is waste of time.
Okay, very quickly before I move on.
Please, हमको पूजा, हमको नमाज भी पढ़ने दो. 5 बार हम छोड़ के जाएंगे काम.
I agree with you. I agree with you. Yes. So, do you believe in the Uniform Civil Code, sir?
They don't.
There isn't one to believe in.
I'm asking you. It is in the directive principles of state policy. There is something called the Uniform Civil Code.
Correct.
There is, listen to me, let's not be too smart here. Now give me 30 seconds, Abhishek, Sudhir.
State must...
Let me finish my question. Since you got it wrong, maybe you didn't understand. Okay, so let me rephrase it and really simplify it for you. If the RSS were to come and say to you that, you know, let us stop all this appeasement business. Let's get the state completely out of religion. What we need is a uniform civil code. This is what they argue for. Tomorrow, the government says, okay, let's get together, let's get the National Law Commission to come up with a bill, the Uniform Civil Code Bill, and let's pass it through Parliament. Would it be acceptable to Abhishek, Sudhir?
Yes.
Wonderful. That ends the debate totally. That ends the debate totally. Here is Abhishek Sudhir, who has a big problem with the Hindutva mindset. And he's endorsing one of the precepts of the RSS's demand. So you see, viewers, because they have succeeded in blurring the lines to such an extent. No, one second. I don't believe that the Congress is advocating.
That is not in the RSS.
No. I'm saying, no, one second. I don't see the Congress advocating for the UCC. I don't see any other so-called secular party. In fact, they oppose it. So it has been left. This particular vision encapsulated in our constitution has been left. No, 1 second. Has been left now totally for the so-called Hindutva forces to push in the interest of secularism. So who's committed more to real secularism? It is the organization like the RSS.
Ask Dr. Patra, does his government have the courage to bring about a civil code?
Tomorrow. And hopefully the NDA tomorrow, because that will perhaps end the smug smiles on the opposition's faces. Viewers, that's what we need here. We need to end this sophomoric, Congressy, sorry to say, Congressy secularism. We need to hit hard. We need to come in with a proper distinction between state and religion. We need to bring in a uniform civil code and end all this flouncing about the rules and the laws. And then people like Abhishek, Sudhir will be really happy because they will be finally supporting parties who don't play the religion card. That will happen.